We are on Joshua chapter 6 verse 11. It says, Vayasev Aaron Hashem Ezeir. So the ark of Hashem encircled, they had, in other words, encircled the city. Hakef Pat Achat. It's encircled it, it surrounded it one time. V'yavo Machaneh, and then they came V'yalinu b'Machaneh, and they rested in the encampment. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. That's the beginning of this whole procedure. Okay, so this is the first day, morning. This is the first day, and so they're going around. Fine, that's number 11. When it says Vayasev Aaron Hashem, it means that the Kohanim were, carrying the ark. It doesn't mean that the Aaron was going on his own, but like I said, that means it's going around one time. Then verse 12. Vayash came Yehoshua Baboka, and Joshua got up early in the morning. Whenever it says Vayash came, it always means early. And Masudas David says we're talking about the second day, not the first day. Why didn't he have to wake up on the first day? That's the question, right? The first. It doesn't say anything about he woke up on the first day. It just says Vayasev Aaron Hashem at the ear that the Aaron went around the city one time. But the next day already, we're seeing Vayash came Vayash came Yehoshua Baboker. Joshua woke up early in the morning. And what happens? Vayisu HaKohanim. So the Kohanim lifted up at Aaron Hashem, the Ark of Hashem. Now they started to carry the Aaron Hashem. Really, did they lift the Aaron? Did they really lift it?
The Kohen?
The Kohanim, did they really lift the Aaron? No, did they really lift it? The question is, did they really lift it, or did, with them before, it lifted itself, right? When it was crossing the Jordan, it picked them up and brought them across. So really, it's not a matter of them carrying the Aaron. It's really the Aaron carrying them, but they have to give kavod, as it were. And we have to do our effort in this world. So when we do our effort and start to lift it up lifts up on its own, the original hovercraft. Okay, it lifts up on its own, and it looks like we're carrying it. So for the people watching it looks like we're carrying it, but we know that we're really not doing anything.
So tradition says that it actually lifted itself up.
Again, we started it, but then it took on its own, which is also explained, if you think about it, when it comes to Uziah, when Uziah wants to grab it because he thinks it's going to fall, and he pushes up, he gets killed for touching the ark, and David says, how can we live with this? And so the answer was, what, you didn't think I could hold my own ark up? Don't get involved in these things. Okay? Hashem can be extremely, it's seemingly strict at times. And if you push it, and why is he strict at those times, by the way? Because I believe, this is my interpretation, because when it's so visible, to go back to what we were talking about before, when it's so visible, when it's so well known that Hashem is in our midst, then you have to follow the rules. It's unlike today, where Hashem is not so clearly in our midst. Okay? We have a lot of anxiety about, people are telling us God doesn't exist. Either God never exists, God is dead, it's all a myth, or God left the building, whatever, like Elvis left the building, God left the building. Okay, so people have all these different things. It's very difficult to be a staunch believer and say, no, God is in our midst, regardless of whether or not I can prove it, I know it. That's a hard thing to say. Okay, a lot of people have a lot of problems with that. But for the religious people, hopefully they all are saying that somewhat in a loud voice. But let's face it, religious people, truly religious people, in all senses of that word, are a very small minority of this world today. We're not the majority. Okay? So therefore, when we are hit from all sides, and again, just turn on the internet and listen to the news, watch TV programs, watch anything you want, and you're going to hear the whole question of God. What is God? Actually, God is not even part of the conversation in reality. If you think about it.
People talk about.
No, they took God out of it. They wanted God out of the. Once again, it was granted. It was put in the 19. Let me just finish. Granted, under God into this legislation under God was put in the 1950s. Granted, it was put in the 1950s, but to want to take it out because it may offend somebody, give me a break. Okay, there has to be a time when you say enough is enough. You don't believe in God. That's your personal belief. As there was an interesting comic I saw that said, because there's a whole argument again that's brought up. Do I have to stand up? Must a child stand up during the Pledge of Allegiance in the schools? Now, when we were all young, except for you, Yigal, maybe, but most of us when we were young, first of all, it was understood that not only do you stand up, but you put your hand over your heart and you pledge allegiance to the flag. Everybody had to do it. There was no such thing as, oh, you don't agree with it?
Up to third grade or?
No, that was
and then elementary school or what?
Elementary.
Oh,
elementary school. Elementary.
Yeah, I thought that was third grade now.
No, elementary. So now you can sit down. You can sit down. You have to stand up. There's a whole question actually. Can you sit down? So the comic has this kid sitting down with his feet on his desk while everybody else is standing up, and the teacher wheels in a veteran and says, "Johnny, you have the right to sit. You have the right to sit down." And you know who gave him? This guy gave him the right in the war. Okay, so your right to sit down becomes because of this guy who pledged allegiance. So it's an interesting thing we're going through in this country once again to say, you know, at what point do I pledge allegiance to anything?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so certainly for now to bring religion into that and say,
nobody pledged allegiance in the communism. I mean, I never had.
First of all, they did pledge allegiance, and they had to say a bracha in the shuls. The Russians made stop. The Russians made the Jews make a bracha for the state on every Shabbos because they wanted that bracha. So it's not true.
Lenient later in religion.
Okay.
They started out very against.
Let's go on. Okay, so let's go on with this. Like I said, it was here where Hashem was always in their presence, and they felt that it was palpable. They saw it. Open miracles. There was really no question as to what you're supposed to do. But again, they have to start lifting up the Aaron. I'm just bringing up that they really weren't carrying the Aaron. The Aaron was really carrying itself, and at times would even carry them. Next passage says the Shiva HaKohanim, and now the 7 Kohanim, Nosim Shiva Shofar Hayovlim. They carried the 7 shofars Lifnei Aaron Hashem before the Ark of Hashem. Holchem Haloch, they were going and walking with Taku B'Shofar, and they were blowing in their shofrot. They were blowing a tekiah, a long blast. V'chalutz Olech Lifneihem, and then the advanced guard, which was Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven, we already learned, were walking in front of them. The Ma'az Seif, and the rear guard, which we learned was the tribe of Dan. Holech Acharei Aaron Hashem, walking as behind the Aaron of Hashem. Holech V'tekol B'Shofar, walking and blowing on the shofar. Any questions?
Yes, didn't we go over that at the last lesson? We keep going over the same thing? No,
what happened, yes, I hear your question. In the first part, we were told that Joshua is telling the people what they're going to do. And now we're being told that they actually did this. We're being told what's going on. But unlike what Joshua told them, and that's why I said, are there any questions? When we learned it with Joshua, what did we say? That they would, it seemed that what he was saying was, they would go around the city one time, blow the shofar, and go home. Here, we're seeing it didn't happen that way. Here, what they did was, they started from the beginning to the end of the march, they were blowing the shofar. That's a different early take. Okay?
They didn't make a bracha, the Shema or the Skah shofar, or the shofar. It was a special mitzvah at the time, but it was part of Kiddush Arts. So part of Kiddush Arts, not a special mitzvah.
Yes, you are right. They did not make a bracha. Yep. Okay.
What about the spelling of the word?
Which one?
You're indicating.
Holech?
Yeah.
Haloch, actually. I should say haloch. It's holech would be walking. Haloch is I want to say infinitive of that. Yeah, it's the infinitive. So the haloch v'tekoa, they were walking, continually walking and blowing. Okay. So it's an interesting thing that is written haloch.
Yeah.
It's written holech, sorry, but it's read haloch. Okay. Again, that happens for whatever reasons that Hashem had. He wanted that possibility to exist. Not sure. I never. It's a very hard thing to explain. I don't know if anybody gives a decent explanation for it, actually. Okay. So now let's see what's going on. It says, first of all, why do you wake up early the next morning? Let's go to the Malbim very quickly. He said on the first day he didn't need to wake up early because they were already at the border of Jericho. That's where he was giving the announcement as to what to do. So he tells them what to do, and they do it. Period. On the second day, they had to wake up already. So then they wake up early. Why do we wake up early? Why don't we just get to the late minyan? As it were. You know, all you're going to do is walk around Jericho. It doesn't take a whole day. Jericho is not that big of a city. Okay. So the reason we get up early, again, this is coming from Avram Avinu that we learned this, when it was supposed to be Zerizut b'mitzvot. We're supposed to do the mitzvot as soon as possible. So if I know the mitzvah is going to take me, let's say 2 hours, okay? And I have the whole day ahead of me, so what I'll do is I'll wake up late. I'll go to the late minyan. And then I'll have my breakfast because how can you walk on an empty stomach? Okay. Then I'm going to have my cup of coffee because after my breakfast, you all need a cup of coffee, right? Then, of course, I'm going to talk to my spouse. I'm going to talk to my kids. I'm going to learn a little Torah. Very good. Oh, and I should have a mincha already. Okay, I should have a mincha. Well, I don't have a mincha. Guess what? I have to eat again. Okay, and we can go, and then, oh, by the way, I have to do this, after this. If I don't do the mitzvah as soon as I can, the odds are procrastination will win, and you will not be able to do it. Or you'll do it at the last second, and it won't be done well.
I got to visit this Reuben yesterday, even though I didn't get to this on Shabbos. I got a paper cut first.
Good.
And I got to cut my arm first this week.
So that is why it says Vayashkem. When you wake up early in the morning, and because it wants to instill in us that we have to be Zrizut mitzvah, we have to do this as soon as possible. So when we have a mitzvah, we should do it that way. Okay? By the way, if you think about it, workers are very zaris. They're very, I don't know the English, how do you translate zaris?
The people who go up in the trees.
Yigal. How would you translate zaris?
That's tree trimmers.
No, how would you translate zaris? Come on, I need a translation.
Going with alacrity.
Quick to do. How do you say it? One word for quick to do. Bill, quick to do.
Alacrity.
I want to do it as quick as possible.
Promptly.
What?
Promptly, speedily.
Promptly.
With alacrity.
Alacrity?
Alacrity.
Okay, think about this. When a person has to go to work, and they set their alarm. What they do, they set their alarm at whatever time. And when the alarm goes off, you have two approaches to alarm clocks. One is to throw it against the wall, hit it. That's one approach. The other one is you turn it off and you get up immediately from the bed. Okay? And you start washing and doing what you have to do. And then you get on the road or whatever you have to do as soon as possible. If it's $1 million deal, or if I have to go to work and be there at a specific time, the odds are, knowing myself, I'm going to get up. If I know I like to hit the snooze button, I'm going to have to train myself not to, because why? I don't want to wake my wife up. I don't want to wake my kids up. I'm the one who has to get out early on the road, not them. So therefore, I use that zrizut and that alacrity, and I do it the minute the alarm goes off, I turn it off as soon as possible. I get up and I stealthily walk around the house and I get out. So hopefully nobody heard me get in or get up, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's the same if we do that with mitzvot. In other words, we know we have to do it. So instead of hitting the snooze button or the procrastination button, we immediately start to do it. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. Okay, I just want to bring that. It's a real musar. It's a real ethical teaching that we get from one word, Vayashkem. Okay. Okay, then it says the Kohen carried. Now, the Kohanim carried it immediately from where they were encamped in Gilgal until Jericho, which they didn't have to do on the first day because, again, they were at Jericho. They were already surrounding Jericho when they were given the orders originally. So now they're carrying it from that point to this. And you have the 7 Kohanim, who this also was a change from the first day. Why? Because they didn't just blow it when they were walking around Jericho, but they were blowing it from the time they left from their encampment in Gilgal until Jericho. Okay?
So maybe they had to do that because otherwise they would physically become tired from all that work. I don't know, all that fun.
No, it's a longer distance.
Oh, it's longer distance.
It's longer distance. So it's the opposite of what you're saying. Okay? So it's so now that's what's going on. They're going and they're blowing their shofar, which he wants to say immediately when they start to go from Gilgal, they began to blow the shofar, and all the time that they're walking, they did not stop from blowing the shofar, and that's why it says the second time they were walking and blowing the shofar. So that was your question. Why so much repetition? Okay, because they want to emphasize that it's a continual thing. Now, if you think about the Jerichoholics, okay, if you think about the group behind the wall, again, even though their wall was impregnable, at least in their minds, it was impregnable. To hear the shofar going from Gilgal till your place, walking around, I mean, that's a couple of hours of, probably, anyway, a couple of hours of constant noise. Think about July 4th. Actually, June 1st to July 4th. Wait. Just think about that with all the firecrackers that we have. Certainly July 4th. You can't go to sleep. Right? You can't even sleep. You have all this noise going on. Yeah.
Not only that, but if they heard the trumpet from a distance, I remember hearing, like at the end of the war, I think it was more frightening when it was in a distance because it sounded like thunder, and then the closer it came, the more distinct the noise became.
Okay.
By the time they got there, we were basket cases, we were scared to death. So this is
there you go.
Yeah.
That would be more of it.
The approaching enemy,
right?
From a distance.
Right.
So if they heard the trumpet all that time, even before they circled the city, it had to be pretty frightening.
Right. So now it's an interesting psychological warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a very interesting thing. Now, mind you, all before this, the people are already shivering in their boots anyway. That was what Rachav said. So it would just emphasize what you're saying, that these people are going to be basket hits by the time this is over. Okay? And they have to do this for 7 days. But they don't know it's going to be 7 days. They never know, the Jerichoholics never know when it's going to happen. They just know that these people are coming.
How come the Iraq war, when the United States went, Saddam Hussein, totally out of Iraq? So they had the code Baghdad Bob was the code term in the United States. That there was somebody who was a state spokesman who was always on Iraqi television, and they kept blurring this Iraqi. I mean, the real Iraqi diehards, the ones who really believed in the regime, they kept blurring this Iraqi spokesman, and he always had good news to say. The American troops there are being fought off at the airport, and they're being fought off at this. And
well, the Jerichoholics didn't have.
They're being totally defeated, decimated on the field.
Right. Okay, so
finally they killed. They killed the radio station. Whatever.
Okay, wait.
Almost killed Saddam Hussein, but Baghdad Bob finally got cut off.
So what I'm saying is
they always believed in him though.
But they didn't have that. They didn't have that here.
So they didn't get the shocking off.
Right, they didn't get that. Right. That's what we know of. Okay. Yeah.
This repetition.
Yeah.
Could be a metaphor for how this sound. If you think how this must have echoed. Yeah. As you're going around the city, so it's going to drone in and out and keep echoing and repeating itself.
It's got to be nerve-wracking.
That you hear, if you're in this march of this mass of people,
right,
you're going to hear it in front of you, and then pretty soon you're going to hear it on the other side as they come around, and so you're going to. It's going to go on and on.
That's true. Well, again, they're only going one time. So for this day, they're only going one time. That would That'll be a hard reason to say, just for Leah's question. That'll be a hard reason to give for why we're repeating the story, as it were. In other words, it could have just said that he commanded them and they did this. Could have done just from that, and that would have been fine. But the fact is, going through and changing things. That's the real point of it, is changing what we consider minor points. We're reading over and saying, why is it repeating? And that Malbim is explaining, it's not really repeating. It's giving new facts to the story. It's going deeper into the story. It's explaining more. Really, that's what's going on. If it just would repeat, it would, then you'd have a major question. Why is God repeating it? Just to give over that they were afraid? We already know they're very afraid. You understand what I'm saying, Bill? Mm-hmm. That's why it would be a hard sell to say that that's the only reason that they were doing a repetition. That's why the Malbim has to come up with his nuance, and actually all the people that I have on the page here, they're all coming up with a nuance. So what we're really learning from these extra things. So that we have to keep that in mind. Okay, so then it says in Yud Dalet and 14, and they encircled the city b'yom hasheni on the second day, pa'amachat, one time, via Shuva amachane, and the camp returned. Koasu, and this is what they did, sheshit yamim, for 6 days. Okay, that's what would happen. Okay, so now we're not repeating anymore. We said this is how they did it. They started from Gilgal. They went to Jericho. They encircled, blowing the shofar, in formation, and they would circle the city. All this time, blowing shofar. Going home, blowing shofar. Okay, people are going crazy. Okay, and that's our interpretation. We don't know what people are doing, but we can only imagine they're going crazy.
They were blowing the shofar, going there, circling around one time, and blowing, coming back.
It seems that. And even if not, I would think that they would, because it says they were blowing continually in their shofar. So I may be adding the last part. So if it's not the last part, fine. But it seems that they were. Okay. But then they would go back home, and then the last 4 words of that sentence, ko asu sheshitamim. Thus they did for 6 days. They don't keep repeating it. That's it. Okay, now we're going to hit the 7th day.
So each day they went back to Gilgal, or they were encamped outside the city?
No, Gilgal.
Yes,
which is again interesting.
You heard the approach coming, and you heard them going away again.
Right. We're talking about, again, psychological warfare. Yeah. And when is this going to end? When are they going to do something here?
You hear them go away, you say, well, they're gone. The next day they come back again. Right.
This was like a surprise attack, Israel against Egypt. They what they did was they buzzed the palace of the I don't know whether it was palace, whatever the presidential home. Anyway, with F-16s or something like that, or whatever the latest Israeli high tech planes or whatever. That's like warplanes, fighter planes. So they couldn't even the fighter planes are designed mainly. I'm not going into detail. They're designed mainly to attack enemy planes, but they figured out that if they buzzed it, if they went supersonic above his palace or whatever, above his presidential mansion, then that would scare everyone.
Oh,
that would have the
same sort of thing.
It had the effect.
Same sort of thing here. So now we come to the 7th day. Vayhi b'yom hashvi'i. It was on the 7th day. The rabbis learned from the fact that it was which day was the 7th day, or which day is the 7th day? Sabbath. It is the Sabbath today. Very good. Okay. So now, Vayhi b'yom hashvi'i. It was on the 7th day. Vayashkimu. And they woke up, not he anymore. Now he's not waking up to sleep. Everybody wakes up. Ka'alot shachar, at dawn. Vayasobu el they surrounded the city. Kamishpat in this manner, like we learned before. In other words, from Gilgal to Jericho, blowing the shofar. Sheva va'amin, 7 times. Okay? Rak b'yomahu, but only on this day. Only on this day, in other words, on Shabbos today, they encircled the city 7 times. In other words, every day They went around. So you have 1, 2, 3, and so all reaches 7. Okay. So now on this day they're going to do it 7 times in a row. Okay. And then Vayhi b'yom hashvi'it, and it was at the 7th time, the 7th time of the Hakafah. So then of the encircling the city, taku hakohanim v'shofarot. So the kohanim were blowing on the shofar. V'yom Yoshua la'am, and Joshua said to the nation, Hariyu, shout, do the truah.
Oh.
Okay, do that. Ki natan Hashem lechem et ha'ir, because Hashem has given to you the city. Hashem has given the city to you. So blow a truah. Okay, make noise, make noise. And then he instructs them. And the city will be cherem to you. In other words, taboo. Lack of better words. Taboo, I don't know how they translate it. How they translate it? It should be taboo. 17. The city, how do they translate it? Nobody's helping me here.
It shall be destroyed.
Destroyed. Good. Destroyed. It's really taboo, but fine. We'll see why I'm saying taboo. The Chol Sheba and all that's in it. Lashem, it should be for Hashem. Rak, only. Rachav Azona, Rachav the Zona, Tichye, she will live. She, V'chol Shita Babayit, and all that she has with her in the house. Ki, why should she live? And why should her whole family live? Ki Yihach, Ech Ba'ata, Ech Malachim, Asher Shalachim. Because she hid the messengers that we sent. So here Joshua's keeping the promise, right? Rachav had the spies promise that they would keep her alive and her family. So, okay, Joshua says, look, everybody will be destroyed except for Rachav the Zona and her family. And why? Because she's hid the messengers. Keep on saying angels here. But she hid the messengers. Why should she really be saved? What's the problem with that?
Why should she be saved?
Again, I'm not about.
He promised her.
So why didn't Joshua say as he promised her? As he promised, they made a promise. Even though they weren't obligated the second time, but they still made a promise. They made a shvuah, they made an oath. So why didn't Joshua say, instead of saying because she hid them, say because we promised her? Can you answer that?
There's only binding on the messengers.
Oh, you read ahead?
I read it.
He could have had it. There you go.
We could have had.
Why is it only binding upon them? Let me ask you.
Because they
didn't make the agreement.
Made the agreement.
They were
the ones that made the agreement.
Yeah. Okay. That's what we're going to say. Fine.
Well, now maybe.
Yeah.
Now maybe it had been different if they had made an agreement beforehand. Anybody who lets us in or out of the city, who tells us the secret route in or out of the city and helps us to conquer it, will be saved.
Correct.
That would have been a different thing. But
Correct.
she saved them, and then they made the agreement with her.
Correct.
It's only because she saved them that they made the agreement.
Good. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good.
You
got it. Next one. 18. Varakatem shimru beina menacherim, and only you will guard from the destruction. Ten tacharim, lest you be destroyed. Ulakachtem menacherim, and you will take from that which was taboo or cherim, separated. V'samtem et machaneh Yisrael lechem, and you will cause the camp of Israel to be set aside for destruction.
But this is referred to the.
V'yachartem oto, and you, plural, will make it, referring to Israel, disgusting, dirty, that sort of language. Okay? So it says, you'll call it to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not me. Okay, v'kol kesef v'zahav, and all the silver and gold, the clay and the choshet, and all the vessels of brass, with barzel and the iron, kodesh hu l'Hashem, they will be considered holy to God. Otzer Hashem yavo, they're coming into the treasury of Hashem. So here we go. If you're going to despoil the city, you're going to take all the gold and all the silver, but you don't get to keep it. You have to give it to the temple treasury.
Why?
That's the command. You're asking on the command. It's an interesting thing. Why would God care about the money? But God is saying you don't. Why do you think? By the way, you have to give it to national treasury. Say it again.
Because they did it on the Sabbath.
More than that.
More than that.
More than that. Give me more. Give me a better reason.
I know the city was so bad. The sin of the 7 nations was so bad, and the degree of tumah, the degree of impurity was so bad that the only thing that could possibly be done with it was to take it all the way to the opposite and make it totally holy. I thought maybe they have to burn everything. Maybe they have to burn all the people.
Give me an even better reason why I have to. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I like what you're saying, but I want even a better reason. When you go into war,
to the victor belongs the spoil.
Right, to victor belongs the spoil. Right.
It's because they're following his plan.
Correct. And I'll give you one more to even go further with that. If you will go into war as we do, when we go into war, we see a trinket, we see something, and we get a souvenir from the war. Okay? People like to steal. They see something, and they figure for their girlfriend, for their kids, they're going to get something, so they put it in their pocket and they take it. Okay? It's not theirs. They've just stolen. A war that we're fighting is supposed to be a war not because we want to gain land, not because we're fighting for the money. We're fighting because God told us to go in and do this. The minute we take something, it was showing that really our intent is not because we're using God as the reason, but really we're doing it for ourselves. We want to get rich. Okay? So this is a payday for us. We'll go in and we'll do it. So God says, no. Everything that you see, nothing goes to you. As a matter of fact, if you take anything, you're going to endanger the whole people to be destroyed. Because I won't accept that. You're doing it for me, and the way you're going to prove it is everything you get, you're going to give to the temple treasury. In other words, nobody gets it. Because, again, once you take something, it's proving you're not doing it l'shem shamayim. You're not doing it for the sake of heaven. You're doing it because you want to get, you know it's a get-rich-quick scheme. And it's sad that people do this. That's what, when you go into war, I know that people do it.
You're taking Kuwaiti oil. Okay, so Saddam Hussein wanted Kuwaiti oil. Now Bush wants Kuwaiti oil.
Good, so that's the point. Okay, so when you're doing it for that, everybody knows that the war is just in my pocket. We always say, follow the money trail. Okay? Here, God doesn't want the money trail to go anywhere, and God doesn't need the money. Right? We all agree that God doesn't need money. Everybody agrees. Every religion agrees that God doesn't need the money. It's the priests who want the money. But God doesn't want the money. And priests in all languages, by the way. Okay? I'm not picking on Christians when I say that. Because we're also called priests. But it's the priests. You could say the temple treasury wants the money. But the point is that they don't even get it. There's no property for them. The priests are landless. Think about that. All priests are landless. Christians weren't the first to come up with that. What?
Where's the money then?
The money stays in the temple. And that was for the Berek Habayit, for the improvement of the temple in Jerusalem. That's it. It doesn't go to the synagogue coffers. No.
To the temple?
That's the point. It goes to the temple.
Yeah, we were talking before with American investment.
So now what would happen would have something else. But because the temple could be employers too. They could be employers in that there were times that they would send out on the Shemitah year, for example. That was the time that they could hire people to do certain things. They could use that money for what was necessary or to repair. In other words, to give sacrifices. Otherwise, somebody has to pay the bill. Right? Somebody has to pay the bills for sacrifices. Somebody has to pay the bill for the Kohanim too. The Kohanim have to live also. But everybody has to live. So if the money is already in the coffers, like think about Notre Dame. Notre Dame has billions. I won't pick on Notre Dame because I live in South Bend. I'll pick on Boston. Go to Harvard. I think it's Harvard. Harvard has more money than it will ever use. It's impossible, they say, because of all their endowments, to ever use that money up. If they would give free tuition from now to Mashiach, which God knows how long that would be, hopefully only tomorrow, but if they would give it, still wouldn't hurt them. Imagine how much money they have because of all these people who have given over the years. Okay? So, we're not trying to build up coffers like that, but assuming you did have that, at least I don't have to give money to them. Unlike Harvard, we have to pay ridiculous money to go. But here, if somebody wants to bring a sacrifice and they couldn't afford it, well, the temple can. Okay, so that's really what's going on. If I'm using the spoils from all these other places, I can at least keep things going. I can, because I have to buy the cow from somebody, right? We have to bring a daily sacrifice twice a day, besides everything else, but at least two. So that means I have to keep putting money out. Somebody has to pay that bill. If the Kohanim don't have land to make money, so somebody has to pay that bill. The people have to pay the bill. So how do people pay the bill? So it's worthwhile putting into the coffer. That would be on a simple level. But again, here what we're looking at is why they had to give it that way. So I'm telling you that the reason you want it really, the real reason behind this, is because if I, the soldier, would take anything from that, is proof that I'm doing this for my own personal gain. And that we can't have. We can't kill for our own personal gain. It's only because God's telling us to do it.
A very common term is holy war. And most of them are not very holy.
That's the point, though.
This is truly a holy war. No one's wounded.
Right.
No one's killed. Complete victory. You're the going around with the shofar and the ark. This is an image truly of God's victory in a holy war.
Right, but the key point is, one second, the key point, everything you're saying is true, but the major point after that is nobody got richer off this war.
Because you can't, you can't claim a share of the spoils because it's not your victory.
Right. Good. What do you want to say, Yigal?
I was going to say, I don't know, it's a classic. Islam actually had written a wine about Islam that when Islam started to spread through Arabia or Saudi Arabia, it was not Saudi Arabia. Then the Muslims they were told not to steal, but they weren't told not to steal from non-Muslims. So they would expand and expand Muslim territory, and they would conquer neighboring idol-worshipping tribes and take all their sheep and take all their possessions. So anyway, no Muslim. I guess it ended up. It was almost like a miracle, quote unquote, from the Prophet Muhammad that no Muslim ended up taking from any Muslim. And they had a tendency to kill people. No Muslim ended up taking from any Muslim. For years. Right. It's a Muslim stuff, right?
Okay.
The reason to join the Muslim.
Okay.
But it wasn't holy. It wasn't holy priest. Okay. I don't know if he claimed it was holy war or not, but it was holy priest.
On 21. So they destroyed everything that was in the city. Me'ish ad isha, from man to woman.
Wait, did you read 20?
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. Okay, 20. I'm sorry. And so the nation made noise. They blew in the shofarot. The priests did. And it was kishmo ha'am, when the nation heard at kol shofar, the sound of the shofar. Vayariu ha'am, through a gedolah. The people shouted a great shout. Vatipol hachoma tachtea, the walls fell beneath it, which means, according to the rabbis, it sunk into the ground. That way nobody would be hurt, no Jew would be killed, because think about it, if the wall is coming down, boom, somebody's going to be hit. No, it sinks right down. And then what happens? So the nation went up to the city, each man opposite it, and they captured the city. What happens? They destroy everything that's in the city, or they take it as actually booty. But they destroy me'ish v'yad isha, man to women, mina'ar v'yad zaken, from young to old, v'yad shor v'seh v'chamor l'ficharav, the ox, the lamb, or the goat, goat. No, not a goat. It says a lamb, and a donkey according to the sword. Okay, it says ram. ram, right? That's what they translate ram. So it's that's what they done. They destroy everything. Why they have to destroy? The fact they had to destroy men and women, I understand, because God says wipe them all out, no problem. It's mass genocide. Okay. Why they have to kill the animals?
Doesn't serve the rules. It's like ones that if they're going to come into land, they have to not without.
You can't profit from it. You're not allowed to profit from it.
That's one thing. Why else?
I shouldn't get a bracha that their own would populate that.
Okay, but why else? Why kill the animals here? Why not use their own animals?
Unkosher animals?
No, actually, these would be the kosher. Only the
Well,
chamor would be. They took the kosher animals and the one animal we can redeem actually. So these are the ones they killed. So when it came to the Amalekites, the rabbis explained that the Amalekites knew how to, through witchcraft, I don't know how it was, but transform themselves into animals.
Oh.
Okay, that would be one explanation. The other explanation is, except for the donkey, that one I'm not so would be so quick to say. But when it came to the ox and the ram, those animals are used for sacrifices. So since we don't know which were set aside for idolatry or not, we would not be able to get benefit from those animals either.
Well, the pagans might have set.
Correct. The pagans could have set them aside. So we don't know which ones they were, or they could have been used for avodah zarah. So there's a lot of reasons that they could be either they had the Amalekite magic that could turn them into those animals. They could turn themselves into animals, so we have to kill all the animals. Or they were set aside for sacrifice, which means we can't use them. Or they were used for sacrifices, which means we can't use them. Used for idolatry, which means we can't use them. A lot of reasons would come out why we can't use these animals. Besides that, God said you have to destroy everything. From the 7 nations, God says you have to destroy everything. Okay? But the question is, why the animals? The animals they're just animals. Why bother the animals?
Yeah. What about all the birds? The rats, the mice, the pets? I mean,
it doesn't say they killed them. Right? It doesn't say they killed them. Okay. Okay. So then it says, Ulashniyim. I'm sorry. Ulashnayim ha'anashim ha'meraglim, and to the 2 men who were the spies of the land. Amar Yoshua. So we're talking about Kalev and Pinchas. Okay? So Amar Yoshua. Yoshua said, Bo'u Beit Ha'isha Zona. Go to the house of the Zona. V'hotziu Misham Ha'isha. Take that woman out from the house. V'yakol Shelah, and all that belongs to her. Kashin Ishbatem La, like you swore to her. Okay? The reason I let them live was because they hid you. But the reason you guys are going is because you swore that you would take them out. Okay, fine. So Vayavo Hanarim Hamaraglim. So now the young boys, these young boys are at least 65 to 80. I don't know how old they are at this point. Okay, now Arab, they're not young people. Pincha Kalev must be near the 80s. Okay, so you can always say 80 is a new. What did I say? 80 is a new 30. Like that, but it's 30 is new 80. How would I say that? Obviously, he was a young man. He acted like a young man. Okay, so v'yavo na'arim hamaraglim. So these the spies came v'yotziu and Rachav Yadavia v'yanima, and they took out Rachav and her father and her mother, Yekol Yed Acheha, and her brothers, Yekol Ashila, and all that belonged to her, Yekol Mishpuchoteha, and all her family. Hotziu, they brought out Vanichum, and they placed them outside the Machane Yisrael, to the camp of Israel. I want to throw this out to you. What is extra in that verse, and why is it extra? Remember, God doesn't waste. The prophets don't waste words either. We're following that pattern. That there's not really wasted words here.
Well, so they brought her father, her mother, her brother, and all that she possessed. And it states again, they brought out all her families.
Right.
And situated them out, set them outside. And so that's kind of repetitive.
Why so much repetition here? What's going on, right? Now, that's one question you can ask. What's another question you can ask? What did she ask to be saved? When she asked to be saved, her family. So it said, they translated, Ashwell is so great for this. They translate giving the Rashis. Why did she get to save her possessions? Think about the German Jews or the Polish Jews, all the Jews in the Holocaust. We were told, you have one suitcase, have a good day. One suitcase, get the heck out of our country, or go to the camps, we're going to take everything out anywhere from you. Okay, you have one suitcase basically. Here, he's saying, pack the house up, honey. We're going. Put in the truck, bring in the rental car, back it in, load the truck. What's going on here?
It's this strike on a house that the person who goes through takes out all of his possessions.
That's before the Kohen gets it. Not the same case though. That's the same case. Here we have a war going on, and suddenly we have a bunch of rental car back in the truck. What's going on? I mean, I was just on Notre Dame. All the kids are coming out. I never saw so many trucks. I might have had the truck line there. Everybody's backing the trucks in, pulling in, and meanwhile they're leaving things anyway. But okay, fine. That's college students. They don't care. It's their parents' money. But it's But think about it. I'm backing a truck in. I'm pulling the wagon in. Pack everything up, honey. We're about to leave. Everything you get to keep. Why do you get to keep everything? God said everything is chayrim. Everything should be destroyed. Given to the treasury. What makes her so special? She saved somebody.
We learned if a non-Jew, we learned in Shabbat Noah, if a non-Jew takes his idol worship stuff and he no longer leaves an idol, his stuff and all of his idols, all of his own idols become not idolatry.
So we can use it. Fine. So we can use it. But God said to destroy it, right?
So God can destroy all the things in the city anyway.
Right. So if God said destroy it, what should get to keep the stuff for? If it's going to be infecting us, it'll be infecting us.
It speaks loudly here. The soldiers who are getting no rewards are watching this family unpacking and
loading the truck.
Yeah.
You know, it's a question that is to be glaring at people. Okay, it's a one that's out there. Okay, so then, I will have an answer.
But if you're going to save her, why make her penniless? Why shouldn't she?
So you give her in today's language, you give her a bomb of dollars. Okay, well, that's the problem. You give her, it's from the people. In other words, you saved her, so fine. The same way the Jews can't get anything from it, she shouldn't be able to get everything. They're all penniless in reality. All the Jews coming over, where's their money? They also have to work in the new country.
Do we know if she became a part of the Jews? Or
yes, well that's what it says.
Comes later.
Right. Okay, so it says
that's going to cause some. I would think that would cause some animosity between the Jews and her family because she's got all her stuff
on that basis
where they don't have anything.
Well, I should say they don't have anything. Where do they get stuff from? I have to correct myself because at the splitting of the Red Sea, when the Egyptians were drowned, so it says they got greater spoil at the splitting of the Red Sea than they did from out of Egypt. So really, they're not penniless. Okay, they have plenty of their own stuff. They're not gigantically rich, but they have their cattle. They have what they have, and so this person has what they have. But it's not because I don't like that as a strain. That's not what they weren't being nice because it's a strain on the community. Yeah. That's not the reason. There's another reason. That's a very powerful reason. But it's I just want you to feel the problem. Okay, you need to see the truck backing up, beep, 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 picking up the stuff, load it up, no problem. The rest of the city is being burned. Honey, we're taking care of you. No problem, Roxal. You're all set. Okay? Then it says, Chav Dalet.
Dowry from Israel?
I'm not sure. Okay? Right. So Ve'ir Sarfu Be'esh. And the city was burned in fire. V'chol HaShibah and everything in it. Raka Kesef, V'Hazav, only the silver and the gold. Clay, Nechoshev, Basil, and the vessels of copper and of iron, not new, was given to the Otse Beta Hashem, to the treasury of Hashem. They had Rachava Zona, and Beta Via, and her father's house, the Chol HaShilah, and all she had, Hechaya, Yehoshua, Joshua kept them alive, but Teisha B'Kef Israel, she lives in the midst of Israel, which Ad Hayom Hazen to this very day, which means she converts. Okay. Ki Echbia at Malachim, because she hid the Malachim, the messengers, Yoshua, the Ragel at Jericho, that Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. I just want to finish the last two things to get to the next paragraph. Vayash ba Yoshua, and Joshua adjured the people, made them make this oath. Be'eda he lay more on that time, saying, Aror ha'ish, cursed is the man, lifnei Hashem, before Hashem, asher yakum, that will establish, uvana de irazot, et Jericho, build and rebuild the city, Jericho, bechoro yusadena, with his firstborn, he will lay the foundation, v'seiro, and with his youngest, he will put the doors up. Really a very harsh curse. If you try to rebuild a city, you're going to, the foundation will be with your firstborn, and your kids will be, and your youngest will be the pivots of the doors. So let's not do this, okay? Vayhi Hashem et Yeshua, and Hashem was with Joshua. Vayisham'o b'chol ha'aretz, and his reputation was throughout the land. Okay, so now let's see what happened. Okay, really quickly. It says, okay, I ran through this. Yeah, so they, where is it? Okay, it was when the Kohanim blew their shofar, so then it says, that we don't explain that they blew a tekiah gedola, which would be the final tekiah, right? On Rosh Hashanah, when we want to end off the tekiah, we say tekiah gedola, and that's twice as long, a few times long. They're not blowing the tekiah gedola here; they're just blowing the tekiah. And then the Kohanim were blowing while in the midst of all this, and Joshua was hinting to the wanted to hint to the Kohanim to blow tekiah gedola when it was the sign of the end of the tekiot and that the victory ultimately. And with this, it was necessary that the nation made a teruah, because you have to do that. They had to proceed to inform how they would before she has to instruct them as to what they're going to do with the possessions of the city. Because after the walls fall, he's not going to have time to tell them what to do, right? If the walls fall, imagine, they're going to blow the tekiah out of the teruah, the walls come down, and they're just going to say, oh, I forgot, I have to tell you something. It's too late. It's like after the service ends, and you make an announcement, and they say Kiddush, and they say, oh no, I forgot, too late. They're gone, okay? The walls fall, you don't have time to start telling what's happening. So then he told me before, and then Heriu wants to say that the time came to blow this teruah, again, the short staccato sound, or to make yell, and that's a sign that Hashem is giving the city to the Jews. And it was Vahaita, when the city would be destroyed. That was the matter of the conquering of the city. That would be done via a miracle. And it was fitting, as you said, victors goes to the victor goes to the spoils. And since it was God's victory, God gets the victory. God gets the spoils. Okay, the people don't share in that. By the way, unlike another war where they did, if you remember back in the war of when they attacked the Midianites, I think it was the Midianites they attacked. Again, God told, if they attacked us, we attacked back, we fought back. God said that you split it's in Numbers. You split the spoils. Okay, so
I have a different idea. Let
me just finish. Before you go on. Wait.
Have everyone take all the kalim and all the things that are fit for the mikdash.
Yeah.
Have them, either melt down the metal or burn everything on fire, and then donate the things that are fit for the mikdash, and take all the money. They get the money. They get the stuff. And
but again, they should
tax. Tax them.
Again, let me
sure, I think they have to prepare it. I don't know.
Again, they can't do that because they're not allowed to do that. Okay, so now Rachav, it's just saved Rachav. So it says she's not included in the city, and she's not included in the nation, and the plunder, because she hid the malachim, the messengers. And it's like we said, I won't go through the whole thing. Basically, it's what we said already. It's because he doesn't say like we swore to them, because we didn't swear to them. They weren't obligated to do that. But because she hid the people, that's why we're doing it. But so he says right here, and then he says, with all this, you would need to, when it says you have to take away all possessions, all their possessions, it doesn't include her. Again, also all because she saved him. She didn't have to save, she didn't have to hide him. Because she hid him, she gets all this stuff. That's what her merit was. Okay? Brakatem Shamru, only you will guard yourselves and the others, and therefore he did not say to them, and he explains that they will guard themselves lest they cause themselves to be destroyed, so they're not going to take from any of this plunder, and you also would endanger the Jews, which we'll see that does happen. And all the silver, all these possessions that would not be fit, as it were, for the treasury of Hashem, that's what has to be destroyed. Anything that could go to the treasury was saved. If it can't, it's not saved. Okay? So then they blow and they make the tekiah. This is when, in the matter of that, Yoshua said, you blow, the nation will make the tekiah. The Trua and the Kohanim will blast the final blast, because both of them together will be very strong, and that explains how it was, because immediately when the nation made the noise of the Tekiah Gedola, and then they shouted until the voices came together, and of course the wall falls down, sinks into the ground. Then the nation comes up because the wall had sunk, and so they attack the city. And they take the spoils, which again, that which was fit to go to God, to the treasury will go to the treasury. That which wasn't, doesn't. So now they come to the house of Zonah, and because the Caleb and Pinchas had sworn to her that they would say that she would be saved, he gives them the honor of going in. Like I said, it says young men. It says they went in with a lot of alacrity in order to complete their mission. So then, or their promise. So, and then the city, once we're told what they did with the rest of the inhabitants, we're also told that their possessions were burned, and that which was to be given to the treasury was Rachav, because Joshua was not obligated to fulfill the oath of the messengers. It says that he kept her alive, and more than that, that she was able to live in the midst of Israel, that she was given a residence, and that and because she accepted upon herself the Judaism. Okay, and so then it says anybody who wants to rebuild Jericho, the Rambam explains that this was that the total destruction of Jericho was remembrance of this miracle, and anybody who sees the walls of Jericho in their destruction will remember the miracle. So if you and the one who sees the walls of Jericho that were swallowed is actually obligated to make a bracha. If you would find the walls and you of Jericho, which I don't know where they are, but if you would see them sunk into the ground, well, make a bracha. Wow. It's actually a bracha to say. Okay, there you go. And then it says this city, anybody who builds a city, not Jericho itself. Now, let's say I build a city, but I won't call it Jericho. I'll call it New Jericho, New Canaan, whatever. Okay, so like we always like to do. So it's the rabbis. It's not Jericho on the name of another city. I can't call another city Jericho, nor can I build another city. I can't build another city where Jericho was, nor can I name another city Jericho, because the hakpada, the particularity that Hashem is speaking on, it just goes on either side. So you can't do either one. That's why the pasuk says, whoever builds this city, Jericho, at Jericho. So it's both sides. So either I build a city where that city is, which means I'm taking away from the miracle, covering up the miracle. Sort of what this is very much like actually what the nuns want to do in Auschwitz, was it? Where they want to build a nunnery? That's what they want to build? Yeah, am I right? Yeah. That's what they want to build, Auschwitz. They want to make a nunnery, and people are saying, how dare you? This is a national monument to the people who died in the Holocaust. You can't do that. And ultimately, I think they stopped it. But that was the concept. If we can change it, so then the memory goes away. Who can prove it? We've destroyed the whole place. Okay? Urban renewal. In Boston, my mother grew up on the west side of Boston. And I remember I said to her, Ma, what's the name of the street? She said, it doesn't exist anymore, urban renewal. They took it away. There's no remnant of that.
The Americans are good.
Okay? There. Bangor was urban renewal, but my show was something else. So it's an amazing thing that if they would have allowed, that's what he's saying, that this was, Josh was saying you have to leave it as a national monument, as proof of the miracle, because otherwise who's going to believe that walls sank, that we destroyed it, we were nothing, impregnable walls. And they'll say we didn't do anything. So leave it empty. Okay? And so it's, and so he says, now this is interesting, the curse. He says, you'll start to build it in remembrance of it, and so he says, when you build it, you're going to start with your youngest, and he's going to die, and you still won't get the message until you're dead. The last one is dead too. In other words, that was a curse. That was a straight out curse. You don't rebuild the city under any circumstances. Okay? And that's what we'll stop. We're really over time too.
What were the circumstances? Why was it acceptable for Rahab to be able to convert?
Anybody can convert. Based on what?
Even the Canaanites?
Yes, the Canaanites had it. All nations had the choice. You can either convert to Judaism or.
That disagree here.
No, let me just finish. I'm saying from the Torah's point of view. Okay, wait 1 second before you go into that, and then you can tell what he says. But it says that Canaanite, when Moshe came in, or when Joshua would come in ultimately, they had the choice. They could either pay taxes and follow the 7 Noahide commandments, okay, and agree to that, or convert to us, or fight. But once you chose one thing, you can't choose something else. Door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. That's what you get. Let's say that they chose door number 3, as they do. Okay, they choose to fight. If somebody is going to go against them, like Rahab does, and so she picks up a special, like the people in the Holocaust who saved the non-Jews who saved the Jews. They have a special place in the world. Okay, and not only this world, but the next world, in the world to come. They have a special, because they took themselves out of that arena. But anybody who didn't save us, even though they didn't actively kill us, are equally as guilty because they didn't say anything. You understand what I'm saying? So Rahab here, since she went out of her way, endangered her life, so she gets the reward. That's what I want to say. So what do they say there?